वल्लभः गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरा वनचारि यमुनातीरा वनचारि राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरा वनचारि यमुनातीरा वनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रवचन चतुर्थ सदस्य श्रीमती श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन संस्थापक श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रवचन चतुर्थ सदस्य श्रीमती भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद श्रील किशोरदास महाराज की जय। जय विष्णुपाद सच्चिदानंद श्री भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। जय विष्णुपाद वैष्णव साधु श्री जगन्नाथ महाराज की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। नमाचार्य श्रीदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री वेद दास साधि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय। श्री श्री गौरांगी दानिवरीश्वर भगवान की जय। श्री मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। अनंतपुरी वैष्णव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। इस्कॉन वर्तमान गुरुवंद की जय। समाज भक्तों की जय। गौरव प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वती व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अपत्रेषु नित्यं वाक्पतसेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। Reading from welcome to Friday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 4, Text 21. Mahava padavyah pitar asmad ashtitha yajna shalashu nadhuma vartmabhihi tad anna triptair asu bhritpir iditha avyaktalinga avadhuta sevitaha mahava padavyah pitar asmad आस्थिता या यज्ञशालसु धूमवत्मभिः तदन्न तृप्तेर अशुभृद्भिरीदिथ अव्यक्तलिंगा अवधूत सेविताः मा वः पत्यः पितर अस्मत् आस्थिता या यज्ञशालसु धूमवत्मभिः तदन्न तृप्तेर अशुभृद्भिरीदिथा अव्यक्तलिंगा avadhuta sevitaha. Translation to the Bhagavad. My dear father, the opulence we possess is impossible for either you or your flatterers to imagine. For persons who engage in fruitive activities by performing great sacrifices are concerned with satisfying their bodily necessities by eating foodstuff offered as a sacrifice. We can exhibit our opulences simply by desiring to do so. This can be achieved only by great personalities who are renounced self-realized souls. Sati's father was under the impression that he was exalted in both prestige and opulence, and that he had offered his daughter to a person who was not only poor, but devoid of all culture. Her father might have been thinking that although she was a chaste woman, greatly adherent to her husband was in a deplorable condition. To counteract such thoughts, Sati said that the opulence possessed by her husband could not be understood by materialistic persons like Daksha and his followers, who were flatterers and were engaged in fruitive activities. Her husband's position was different. He possessed all opulences, but he did not like to exhibit them. Therefore, such opulences are called abhyakta or unmanifested. But if required, simply by willing, Lord Shiva can show his wonderful opulences. And such an event is predicted here, or it would soon occur. The opulence Lord Shiva possesses is enjoyable in renunciation and love of God, and not in material exhibition of sense gratificatory methods. Such opulences are possessed by personalities like the Kumaras, Narada, and Lord Shiva, not by others. In this verse, the performers of Vedic rituals are condemned. They have been described here as Dhuma Vatmavihi, those who maintain themselves on the remnants of sacrificial foodstuff. There are two kinds of foodstuff offered in sacrifice. One kind is food offered in fruitive ritualistic sacrifices, and the other, the best, is food offered to Vishnu. Although in all cases Vishnu is the chief deity on the sacrificial altar, the performance of fruitive rituals aim to satisfy various demigods to achieve in return some material prosperity. Real sacrifice, however, is to satisfy Lord Vishnu, and the remnants of such sacrifices are beneficial for advancement in devotional service. The process of elevation by performing sacrifices other than those aimed at Vishnu is very slow, and therefore it has been condemned in this verse. The Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has described the ritualistic performers to be like crows, because crows delight in eating the remnants of food which has been thrown into the dustbin. All the Brahmanas who were present for the sacrifice were also condemned by Sati. Whether or not King Diksha and his flatterers could understand the position of Lord Shiva, Sati wanted to impress upon her father that he should not think her husband to be without opulence. Sati, being the devoted wife of Lord Shiva, offers all kinds of material opulences to the worshippers of Lord Shiva. This fact is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto. Lord Shiva's worshippers sometimes appear more opulent than the worshippers of Lord Vishnu, because Durga or Sati, being the superintendent in charge of material affairs, can offer all material opulences to the worshippers of Lord Shiva in order to glorify her husband, whereas the worshippers of Vishnu are meant for spiritual elevation, and therefore their material opulence is sometimes found to decrease. These points are very nicely discussed in the 10th canto. चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकथा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपरकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च. ये कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिकांत राधाकांत नमस्ते. तप्तकांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वर वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. मोहम करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं यं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं परमानन्दमाधवं श्री चैतन्येश्वरम्. Hare Krishna. So we see here as to how Sati is chastising her father Daksha, and in this verse she is telling Daksha that she and Lord Shiva have opulence, and lot of opulence, and a materialistic person like Daksha, it is very difficult for him to even imagine, or rather impossible for him to imagine how much of opulence that Sati and Lord Shiva have. So generally, materialistic people, they engage in fruitive activities by performing a lot of sacrifices, which are basically rituals mentioned in the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, and they engage in fruitive activities by performing these sacrifices. So what they do is they offer oblations to the sacrifice, to the demigods, and they take the remnants of that which is offered to the demigods as prasadam, and they perform fruitive activities, because in the Veda there is a lot of mention that if you perform this sacrifice, you will attain this. If you perform this, you will go to heaven. If you perform this ritual, you will go to moon. And if you perform this ritual, you will go to sun, planet, and so forth. There are so many stipulations in the Vedas. But ultimately, the point is that even the demigods don't have the ability to award results of a sacrifice without the permission of the Supreme Lord Krishna, because ultimately Krishna is the supreme enjoyer of all the sacrifices. That's why he himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yajnatapata Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. That means he is the supreme enjoyer of all the sacrifices. But demigods offer to the demigods. So what they offer to the demigods indirectly goes to Krishna. So these are all activities that performed by materialistic persons who engage in fruitive activities. There are very two processes for progress in spiritual life. One is a direct progress, taking up the devotion service to the Supreme Lord, which is a direct and shortcut, which is the best process. The other process that are available for materialistic people like Daksha and others are take up to the rituals based on Karmakanda section, And then as they gradually progress in the Karma Kanda, they may elevate themselves to Jnana Kanda, and they may involve in speculative knowledge for some time. And sometimes they progress further. They may go to Upasana Kanda of the Vedas, which focuses a little bit of worship, deity worship, and a bit of devotional service also. But not all in all is devotional service. So there are two processes. That means you go through the direct process of taking up devotional service, or step-by-step process of taking up Karma Kanda or Jnana Kanda or Upasana Kanda. And many times, generally, materialistic people get stuck in these rituals in any of these kandas. So they may not progress necessarily from Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda, and so forth, and reach a stage of devotional service. So it is always recommended to go directly to take up the course of devotional service. So Sati's father was Daksha was a very materialistic person. And materialistic people generally believe in exhibiting their opulences to the others. They want to show that I have this, I have that. And similarly, other materialists also, they believe in seeing the opulence of others and estimating their position among the group of whomever they are associating with. So Daksha was one like that. Whereas self-realized personalities like Shiva, they have a lot of opulence and they are all self-realized souls, but they don't exhibit their opulences in the open because that is how they are always renounced and they are self-realized souls. They know that this body is not all in all, there is a spirit soul, which is beyond this. So Daksha was under the impression that materially he was exalted in both in terms of prestige and opulence compared to Lord Shiva. And he thought that he had offered his daughter to a person who is very poor, not only in terms of wealth, but also he was devoid of all culture. But Sati was a very chaste woman, who she was fully adherent to her husband. But her husband was in a much exalted position. It does not mean that somebody is spiritually situated, so that by which one can conclude that he is materially sound or not. Actually, even if somebody is actually spiritually elevated or spiritually situated on a spiritual platform, material opulence is already there within them, but they don't exhibit because that is not the way that spiritualists behave or believe in. Materialists believe, but not the spiritualists. So to counteract that, Sati is telling Daksha that the opulence possessed by her husband could not be understood by a materialistic person like Daksha or even his followers who flatter Daksha and were engaged in fruitive activities. Now Sati is none other than Durga, who is the controller of this material world, and she has all the opulences under her control. So what is the shortcoming of opulences for a personality like Sati? No. Now her husband's position was totally different, but knowing the real truth, Lord Shiva did not want to exhibit them. That is why it is mentioned in this sloka that such opulences are called abhyakta or unmanifested. That means they have opulence, but they are not exhibited. That is why it is called unmanifested. Devotees also have opulences, but they don't exhibit them. But whatever they have, opulences they use them in the service of the Lord. And one of the opulences is also renunciation. That means renunciation means though they have all the opulences, they don't think that everything that they belong to them. They think that the opulences belong to Krishna, and therefore they have to be used in the service of Krishna. So if they want, they can even exhibit, but they don't do it. So it is mentioned here that an event is already predicted by which Shiva will be exhibiting these opulences, which we'll discuss in the forthcoming verses. But these opulences are available to devotees and great personalities like Narada Muni or Kumaras or Lord Shiva, but not by others. For example, it is said that one time Ravana went to Narada Muni and he told Narada Muni that I want to have spiritual knowledge. Narad Muni just looked at him. Still, he was insistent that I want to take spiritual knowledge from you. Now, if you have to get knowledge from anybody, one has to humble himself. But Ravana was proud with himself, and he was insistent that Narad Muni should give him spiritual knowledge. But then Narad Muni did not give that. So finally, what he did was he took his sword and tried to put this, penetrate the sword in Narad Muni's body. But Narad Muni has a spiritual body. So nothing, no harm could be done to Narad Muni. So this is one example of how devotees have spiritual personalities, spiritual bodies, because they are all pure devotees of the Lord. Narad Muni, uh, his only duty is to carry on the mission of the Lord by carrying the veena and singing the glories of the Lord and travel everywhere and glorify the Supreme Lord. So Narad Muni's original body, spiritual body, that is also mentioned in the spirit, Srimad Bhagavatam first canto itself. So no harm could be done brought to Narad Muni. So these are examples as to how devotees have a lot of opulences, but they are not exhibited openly. But the Lord manifests these opulences at the right time to the right personalities. The another important point is that Lord Shiva can give at the most moksha or liberation from material birth and death, but which is higher than materialistic benefits. But at the same time, it's not all in all, because ultimate goal of life would be to get Krishna Prema, for which Shiva also give that. Shiva cannot give that benediction. Only Vishnu can give that. Also, even to give liberation to his followers, Lord Shiva depends on Vishnu for giving that liberation. It's not that he is independent of Lord Vishnu. As you all know, they are all part and parcels of the Supreme Lord. But Lord Shiva's position is definitely higher than compared to all other demigods. But Lord Shiva also cannot give this moksha, liberation. Another point that is mentioned is that about the Vedic rituals by which the materialist people maintain themselves. Like I mentioned, they offer fruitive activities on the sacrifices, but these are also material in nature, not spiritual. So material benefits last for some time. Sometimes it may last in that and finish off in that birth itself, or sometimes it may get carried forward to the next birth. But being material, they have an end also. So in this verse, there is Srila Prabhupada mentioned about two types of foodstuff that are offered. One is foodstuff that is offered in sacrifice, which I mentioned as per the rituals in the Vedas. And the other one is food offered to Vishnu. But out of both, food offered to Vishnu is the best. Whereas the food offered to the sacrifices are meant for sense gratification to obtain some materialistic results, which is generally lower class of personalities like materialists use this for material elevation, but not for spiritual advancement. There is also a quote in Bhagavad Gita where the Lord tells Arjuna in chapter 3, in text 11 and 12, he says, real sacrifice, however, is to satisfy Lord Vishnu, and the remnants of such sacrifices are beneficial for advancement in devotion service. That means out of the two sacrifices, when one offers foodstuff to Vishnu and honors them as their remnants of Mahaprasadam of Lord Vishnu, that is what really is beneficial for advancement in devotion service. So also, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, in this verse, in his commentary on this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, he compares these ritualistic performers to be like crows. Normally, crows go to a place where there is a lot of garbage. So he compares these materialists to be like crows, where they go to the dustbin to take that garbage. And all the Brahmanas who were present at the time in sacrifice, along with Daksha, they were also on the same, and Sati is condemning them also, because though they are Brahmanas, They didn't know the ultimate purpose of goal of life is to offer foodstuff to Vishnu. And when one honors that, one becomes purified of all the material contamination. Now, Daksha and his followers may not be able to understand the position of Lord Shiva, but Sati wanted to impress upon upon Daksha in this world that he should not think Lord Shiva to be without opulence. Sati, being the devoted wife of Lord Shiva, offers all kind of material opulences to the worship of Lord Shiva. And that is also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, that many times we find that followers of Lord Shiva are very, very opulent, but at the same time followers of Lord Vishnu need not be opulent. And the reason that is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam is that followers of Lord Shiva, though Lord Shiva is a very great devotee of the Lord Vishnu, as it is said in the scripture, Vaishnavanam Yatra Shambho, though he is a very great devotee of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva is generally associated with lower modes, with living entities in the lower modes of nature, that is the mode of ignorance, like ghosts and hobgoblins, because somebody has to deliver them also. So Lord Shiva associates, and his followers are mostly in the form of ghosts and hobgoblins. So Sati is the superintendent in charge of material affairs, and she can offer all these materialistic opulences, even to worshippers of Lord Shiva, which she does. So followers of Lord Shiva normally sometimes appear to be very, very opulent, but followers of Lord Vishnu may not have that type of opulence, because that is also explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that the Supreme Lord is not interested in giving benedictions of opulences to his followers, because he wants his followers back to home, back to Godhead. Whereas Lord Shiva followers are materialistic in nature, whereas followers of Lord Vishnu are taking up the spiritual path by which they can advance gradually, and then at the end of their lifetime they can go back to home, back to Godhead. So that is why Lord Vishnu does not offer benedictions of opulences to his followers. So that is why it might externally appear that followers of Lord Vishnu don't have opulence compared to followers of Lord Shiva, but the opulence of the devotees have opulences, and they are exhibited by the Lord or revealed by the Lord at the appropriate time, which we will discuss through some of the pastimes that are given in Bhagavatam and other scriptures. But worshippers of Lord Vishnu have spiritual opulences, which are definitely much higher than material opulences. So there is a quote in Bhagavad Gita itself, in Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says in the last, not the Lord, Sanjaya says Sanjaya hears this Bhagavad Gita spoken by Krishna to Arjuna, and at the conclusion, the last sloka of Bhagavad Gita, Sanjaya concludes by saying, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Partho Dhanudaraha Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. In the translation it says, wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. I will read this translation again. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of mystics, one of the names of Krishna is Yogeshwara, who is the master of all the yogic powers. And wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence. That means wherever Krishna is there, and wherever his devotees like Arjuna is there will always be opulence. There will also be victory. There will be extraordinary power and morality also. This is how Sanjaya concludes his understanding after hearing Bhagavad Gita. Now, to give some examples in the scriptures, first we'll see some of the types of opulences. One is wealth. Now, if you see, Sudama was a very, very poor Brahmana, but still he had no materialistic desire in him. But his wife thought that being devoted to Lord Vishnu, he should be much better placed. So his wife wanted him to go and see Lord Krishna. And based on his wife's request, he went and she gave him a bag of chipped rice and sent it through him to Krishna. So when Sudama went there with a bag of chipped rice, Sudama did not speak to Krishna about anything about his situation, but rather uh, Krishna forcefully took the chipped rice from Sudama Brahmana, and then when Sudama Brahmana came back to his home, the entire home and everything was totally transformed. I mean, from a status of a very poor Brahmana, it became highly opulent. But still, Sudama was not attached to whatever opulences that was revealed by Lord Krishna at that particular pastime. But Lord Krishna fulfilled the desire to fulfill the desire of Sudama Brahmana's wife, revealed at that time uh, uh, to everyone that devotees are not bereft of opulence. The Lord can reveal all these at the right time. Some more pastimes, we see in our Sampradaya, we have Madhvacharya, whom everybody has heard. In his childhood time, it is said that he was known as Vasudeva. So once his father, when he was a very small boy, had piled up many debts, but Vasudeva converted all the tamarind seeds into actual coins to pay off the debts. So this is how Madhvacharya was already a devotee right from his birth, and this is how he utilized his power to pay off the debt of his father. Then one example that is there is about Madhvacharya himself, about regarding knowledge. We know the opulences are in various categories. There are many opulences, but in principle, they are normally categorized into six. That is knowledge, wealth, power, beauty, fame, and enunciation. So in the case of knowledge, we see that Vasudeva, this Madhvacharya, he went to a place where there was a narration of the Puranas by a very renowned scholar at that time, who regularly recited from the scriptures. So while listening to these, Vasudeva suddenly stood up and loudly accused the narrator. He said, whatever story you are telling, do not conform to the teachings of the scriptures based on preaching by saintly personalities like Sri Vasudeva or Sukadeva Goswami. You are speaking in a speculative manner and cannot be considered authoritative or authentic. So when Vasudeva spoke like this, the entire audience was taken aback because this is a very Vasudeva was just 4 years old at that time. So they were all surprised, and then they all prompted Vasudeva at that time. And being prompted by the audience, Vasudeva narrated the same stories from the point of view of scriptures in the proper way. And this way, he defeated the speculative narrations of the one who narrated before. So at this time, flowers, it is said that flowers were rained on, flowers were thrown, were showered on Vasudeva from heaven, and the audience felt greatly delighted. This is about the opulence of Vasudeva, even when he was a small boy, how he, Lord revealed his opulence as knowledge. Of course, we all know that Madhvacharya compiled, gave his commentary on Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures also. In terms of power, physical power, there is an example given in the scriptures. There was a devotee who was in the name of Abhirama Gopala during Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. And he was always in ecstatic mood to serve the Lord, Supreme Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Sakya Rasa. And one day he had a desire to play the flute like a cowherd boy. So he was intoxicated at one time by the bliss of Krishna Prema, and he began to search for a suitable flute. But he could not find a suitable flute. And as he searched through the forest, he found a suitable log of wood, which he saw. He immediately turned it into a flute and began to play the flute. And then it is said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, that this Abhiram Gopal was one of the great devotees who was saturated with Krishna Prema, who once picked up a log that 16 men could not pick up. But Abhiram Gopal, as a very young boy, he picked up that strong lock of wood and then played flute on that, converted it to a flute. Some more examples. When Madhvacharya was there as a small boy, he was just about 5 years old, so he was offered a sacred thread. So at that time, there was a demon who was the name of Maniman. He lived near his abode in the form of a snake. And this Vasudeva, he killed that snake when he was a small boy just by the pressure of using his toe of his left foot. By using his toe of his left foot, Vasudeva actually killed that snake itself. Another time, when he became Madhvacharya, he traveled to Badrikashrama. This is about the knowledge. And when he was returning from Badrikashrama, he met a lot of his companions. He, along with his companions, they all preached the Lord's glories everywhere. But at one point of time, they were passing through some dense forest, and there was a tiger which attacked one of his associates of Madhvacharya, whose name was Tirtha. But Madhvacharya, due to the strength that he had, he separated the tiger from his associate by virtue of his strength itself, physical strength. This is how Madhvacharya was powerful even in terms of his physical strength. Rather, the Lord revealed his potency of strength through Madhvacharya at that time. Another time, there was one devotee during Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. His name was Gadadhara Das. And Gadadhara Das was always in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And one time he went to the house. At the time, the kingdom was ruled by a Mohammedan ruler called Chand Kasi. Gadadhara Das went to Chand Kasi's house one time in the morning. And at that time, Chand Kasi was busy in his household activities. But Gadadhara Das wanted to meet Chand Kasi. Chand Kasi said, I am busy now, we can meet tomorrow. But Gadadhara Das told him that Sri Mahaprabhu has appeared in this world to deliver conditions like us. And he wants us to chant the holy name of Lord Hari, sweet name of Lord Hari. So Chand Kasi said, I shall chant the name tomorrow, you come tomorrow. But Gadadhara Das was insistent, saying that I have come to deliver you with the holy name of Krishna, and now you have begun your life of auspiciousness. So why don't you chant the name of Hari today itself? Because by chanting the name of Hari, all your sins will disappear, and your miseries in your life will also disappear by just simply chanting the name of Lord Hari, and I have come to deliver you. So again, hearing this, Gadadhara Das was very, very insistent, but Chand Kasi was bewildered. He said, tomorrow I'll chant the name of Hari. But upon hearing this holy name of Hari coming from the mouth of Chand Kasi, immediately he felt some change in his bodily symptoms. And Gadadhara Das, when he heard the name Hari from Chand Kasi, he became ecstatic in the mood of Krishna Prema. So at last he said, why tomorrow already you have chanted the name of Hari, and all your sins will now melt away, and you will become completely purified by the power of the holy name. So purified by the grace of Gadadhara Das, it is, and the holy name of Krishna, the Kasi took shelter of Gadadhara Dasa. So in this way, it is said that many of Chand Kasi's associates and sinners or non-believers, they also took shelter of the holy name of Krishna, and they all were delivered. There is one more example of a great Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, who is one of the Goswamis and one of the devotees in our Sampradaya. So during Sanatana Goswami's time, Sanatana Goswami was actually living in a renounced manner. But at that time, he used to perform his bhajana underneath a tree. And during that time, there was a wealthy merchant of a Kshatriya caste named Shri Krishnadas Kapoor. He was on his way to Mathura to do some business. So he was coming down the Yamuna in a big boat. But what happened was when his boat came to the Yamuna river, it got stuck by hitting some sandbar, and there was no way that the boat would move. So he was wondering what to do. So at that time, Krishnadas Kapoor heard from local people there was a sadhu living in Vrindavan who could help, and his name is Sanatana Goswami. So this Krishnadas Kapoor came to Sanatana Goswami. At that time, he saw the Sanatana Goswami was sitting in a hut wearing just a loincloth, kopin, and his body uh, was lean due to austerities and renunciation. So Sanatana Goswami offered his visitor a grass mat as a seat, and touching Krishnadas Kapoor with his hand, he said, "You please sit." And Krishnadas Kapoor said, "Baba, give me your mercy." Sanatana Goswami said, "I'm only a beggar. What kind of mercy can I give you?" So this Kapoor said, "I only pray for your blessings because my boat is stuck on a sandbar in the Yamuna river, and I can see there's no way of freeing it out." Sanatana Goswami replied, "I know nothing about it, but I will explain it definitely to my beloved deity Madan Mohan." So Krishnadas Kapoor offered his 10 words before Madan Mohan deity and said, "Oh Madan Mohan, please give me your mercy and free my boat. Whatever profit I make from this business, I will give it to you for your seva." So this way Kapoor prayed to Madan Mohan deity, and that day it is said that a huge storm came in and rain poured from in such a way, raising the level of water in Yamuna. So as the rain grew higher and higher, and water was flooded everywhere, this Kapoor's boat was freed from that thunderstorm and rain, and it began to flow down the Yamuna. So Krishnadas Kapoor could understand that it was all by the mercy of Madan Mohan Deity. So he had made some lot of profits during the in that which he was carrying in his boat, and finally he donated it to Sanatana Goswami to build a temple for Sri Madan Mohana, which would include a Bogashala, where a lot of nice foodstuff could be stored and offered for the pleasure of the Lord. So from that day onwards, it is said that Madan Mohan deities are offered nice opulences by taking that mercy of by what was offered by this Krishnadas Kapoor. And finally, Krishnadas Kapoor took initiation from Sri Sanatana Goswami, and he was delivered. And it is said that in Vrindavan, that temple still exists. Of course, it is there, and we should see the deity whenever we go to Vrindavan. They are very, very beautiful deities. One example of renunciation is none other than Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, who is also one of the Goswamis in our Sampradaya. As you all know, from the Panihatti function, that Raghunath Das Goswami came from a very highly opulent background, and his father was a billionaire even during those times, earning so many gold coins. And Raghunath Das Goswami was from that background. But somehow his parents were not in favor of Raghunath Das Goswami taking up to spiritual life. So whenever possible, Raghunath Das Goswami would run away from his house in search of seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or association with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like Nityananda Prabhu and so forth. So a couple of times he ran, and then his father would send security guards to keep an eye on his son Raghunath Das Goswami. So one time Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Gambhira, and Raghunath Das Goswami similarly went to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord lifted Raghunath Das Goswami and placed his lotus feet on Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami, when he said that he told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, only by your costless mercy have I been rescued. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that your father and your uncle were friends of my own grandfather. Although your father and uncle are devotees, they are attached to family. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw that Raghunath Das Goswami had not eaten at all. So he asked his secretary, Sarup Damodar Goswami, he told that I am entrusting Raghunath Das Goswami to you. So please take care of him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told his secretary Govinda to Sarup Damodar to ask Govinda to let him take bath and have darshan of Jagannath, Sri Jagannath, Subhadra and Puri and give him prasad. So after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took prasad, the Lord gave his remnant to Raghunath Das Goswami, and this way it was going on. Then one day, Raghunath Das Goswami did not come to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked this Govinda secretary, why did he not come? To which Govinda explained that it is not good to have a healthy prasad every day for his detachment. So he has started to take the path of begging in the Simadwara gate in the night. When the priests come out of the pilgrimage, when the priests come out of the temple, they give some prasad to the beggars of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, and Raghunath Das Goswami is taking that itself. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard that, he became very, very pleased hearing about the detachment of Raghunath Das Goswami. So Raghunath Das Goswami is a symbol of actually practicing detachment. And he used to wear a discarded cloth, loin cloth, which normally is thrown to beggars. But somehow he was loved by all the devotees of the Lord as being a very great devotee. His father used to give a lot of money to Raghunath Das Goswami, even though he had left his house. But then he rejected because he decided to use that money for the service of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it is said that twice a month he would arrange a grand feast for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this also went on for some time. And then one day he stopped inviting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired from his associates. They explained that he was thinking that taking this money from materialistic people, he may be doing this for his prestige. And so now he's not even begging at the gate. That means Raghunath Das Goswami felt that he was taking money from his father, though it was used in Mahaprabhu's service, that his father was a materialistic person. And he may get some undue prestige in the process. And thereafter, it is said that Raghunath Das Goswami started begging at the Simadwara gate. He was not even taking the prasad which was given by the temple priest, but rather he was begging at the gate of Simadwara, getting some unwanted rice. So this way, it is said that people might think that he was a beggar, and they will think otherwise, that he is like a prostitute, and therefore he increased his detachment by accepting whatever was available in the kitchen. Then one example of wealth is there's an example about Sri Ramanujacharya. It is said that during Ramanujacharya's time, there was a devotee in the name of Tirumangai. Used to be known as Tirumanga Alvar. These Alvars were great devotees of the Lord. And this Tirumanga Alvar would compose many beautiful prayers and verses to glorify the Lord. So he used to travel to many holy places. And in the course of his travel to these holy places, he came across some mystics who became his disciples. Now, one was very famous for defeating anybody in a debate. I mean, one of the disciples was very good in defeating anybody in a debate. The second one was able to open any lock without a key. The third one will make anybody's movement to a standstill by just stepping on his shadow. That means the third one would step on anybody's shadow, by which that person's movements will come to a standstill. And the last one was one who had practiced some Lagima Siddhi that would enable him to walk on water. So during this Tirumanga Alvar's time, it was said that the deities were of Ranganath were installed by Vibhishana during his time. But the temple was highly dilapidated, created, and it was filled with bats. And it was situated in the midst of forest where there were a lot of wild animals and so forth. So what would happen is the priest would come in a hurry, offer some flowers and water to the Lord, and he would leave in a hurry because he was fearful of these wild animals. So Tirumanga Alvar at that time thought that he should build an opulent temple for Lord Ranganath, and he approached many rich people asking for money to build the temple. But as you know, in Kali Yuga, people are reluctant to spend money on the Lord, and Tirumanga Alvar felt that there was no response from any of these rich people. So one day he called all these four disciples and he said, we have tried our level best to collect money from these rich people to build a temple for Lord Ranganath, but he should have a very opulent temple by which these rich people can themselves come, have darshan of the Lord, and they can be delivered. What is the use of having all that money and putting it when they are not used in the service of the Lord? So when he discussed this with these four disciples, key four disciples, saying that the Lord would suffer if he is treated this. I mean, Lord does not suffer, but it's not right to treat the Lord in a very poor manner. So he said that we should try to devise a manner by which we can take away the wealth from these so-called rich people and then utilize it for building a temple. So when he suggested this, all his four disciples accepted, yes, this is a good thought. Instead of they are hoarding it, we will take away the wealth from them and utilize that wealth to build a nice temple for Lord Ranganath. So one of them said that I can engage myself in defeating anybody in a debate, and the other one said that I will open the lock of any key. The third one said that I will definitely uh, step on any rich man's shadow by which his movement can be controlled. He will not be able to move body. He will not have any bodily movements, and the others can take away the wealth from him. And the fourth one said that I can walk on the water, and I can, because all the rich people's houses were surrounded by water beds. So he said that I can walk over water so that others can have access to their richness. So with the help of these four disciples, it is said that Tirumanga Alvar planned to steal the wealth from all these rich people and utilize it to build the temple for Lord Ranganath. They planned, they put it into action, and they took away the wealth from most of these rich people and built a glorious temple for Lord Ranganath, which we see today in Sri Rangam. And it is said that uh, uh, though this was a skill that they used, but they used it in the service of the Lord, and they each one displayed their power. And at the end of their lifetime, all the rich people were also delivered, and they went to the Lord's abode. Before concluding my class for the day, I'll give one more pastime. It is said that Ramanujacharya, when he was coming from Kashmir, at that time he saw some Kashmir. Ramanujacharya and his associate used to preach the glories of the Lord. And when they were coming back from Patrikashrama, there were a group of people who were known as Kashmiri Panditas. And they believed in a different philosophy called monism or Vaidism and so forth. So these Kashmiri Panditas, when Ramanujacharya preached to them, they were defeated at that time by Ramanujacharya. So when they were defeated, they want to take revenge on Ramanujacharya, and they did some black magic tricks on Ramanujacharya. And what happened was, whatever tricks they tried to put on Ramanujacharya, they came back to those black magic tricks, came upon to the same people who performed these tricks, to the extent that they all fell sick and they were about to die. So the king of Kashmir at that time realized what was happening, and he immediately came to Ramanujacharya. He begged forgiveness from Ramanujacharya for the activities of the black magic done by these so-called Kashmiri Pandits. Immediately, Ramanujacharya accepted that apologies, and it is said that they were all cured completely and they came back to their normal lives. and including the king and all these Kashmiri Panditas, they all became disciples of Sri Ramanujacharya. So this is how actually the Lord reveals the opulences of the devotees at the right time, and the Lord has displayed this by these pastimes which I have mentioned. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. Anybody has got any questions or comments, you can ask me in the next couple of minutes.
Thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thanks, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.